So let's start this workout. I'm starting my workouts with some glute activation, and that is just because I have very stubborn glutes and I am very quad dominant, and I've been for so many years. So for me to get more glute activation during my compound movements, I need to hey, wakey, wakey, before I start to work out. So that is why I'm doing glute activation. And this is something that I have started to cooperate like 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago in my workouts, and it has made a major difference with the contacts in my glutes. So here you will see me do a few variations. I do not always do the same movements. Sometimes I do compound movements, like if I'm doing squats, I'm doing squats but with very low weight and focusing on contacting the glutes, like trying the movements before. But here you will see me doing a little squat walk. Here I'm doing a little kickback with resistant band, and yeah, I'm doing some hip thrusts also with resistance band, just to squeeze the glutes and really get them like waking up before the workout. And yeah, for me this is making a major difference, but try it out yourself and see if it's making any difference. I have done a full video where I showed the different movements that you can cooperate in your glute activation. The thing here is to wake them up, so you don't want to burn them out. You don't want to do activation with heavy weights or too many, so they are like tired when you're going to start the workout, because then they have the opposite effect. If you are getting your glutes tired before doing compound movements, then other muscles are going to go in and work instead, so you don't want to do that. I also like to include some stretching when I'm doing leg workout, and especially when I'm doing compound movements. And stretching, I think, is so neglected these days, and it's so important. And I honestly, I am sometimes forgetting about stretching also. And you can really feel when you are neglecting stretching, because you feel more stiff in your muscles, and it's just very good, and I like to do it a little bit before I start my workout, and I also like to do it in between sets instead of just sitting down and resting, and I feel a major difference when I cooperate stretch. When I'm doing this, you can see that my back is a little rounded, and that is how my back is naturally, and I'm just looking like that. I used to hate that, but now I have embraced it, and yeah, that is how my back is looking. That is why when you see me do some movements, it tends to look like my back is not straight, but it is. So I wanted to show you some start and stops in these movements, because I think that how you start the movement and how you finish the movement is as important as your form is during the movement. So here I'm doing deadlifts, and honestly I think deadlifts has been so in the shadow of stiff deadlifts and squats, but normal deadlifts is so good for your glutes and for your whole leg, but you can really cooperate your glutes here if you're squeezing in the top and really putting mind to muscle connection. And you can do them a little wider, you can do them even more wider than this, but what you always have to keep in mind, it's so important that your knees is always in line with your toes. And here you see when I'm starting, I really make sure that my feet are good on the ground. I put my shoulder blades back, I lift the weight with a straight back, and then I'm focusing, so I'm connecting the muscles that I want to work with before I start the workout. And you know, most of the injuries are when you are lifting up the weight or putting the weight down. So really think about your form when you're starting until you're finished. And some key things in deadlift is to really squeeze your glutes if you want to cooperate them, have a straight back, your shoulder blades should be fixed, and your knees in line with your toes all the time. And here you will see me do stiff deadlifts. And once again, when I lift the weight up, I really focusing. I take a moment and really connecting my mind to the muscles that I'm going to work with. It's also very important. If you haven't tried that, try it out before you start the workout, before you start the exercise you're doing. Just give it 1 second to just focus. Okay, now I'm going to squeeze my glutes, or now I'm going to focus my hamstring. And here, I think one thing people are doing wrong is that they are just letting the weight down and dragging it up. The thing you should think about in stiff deadlifts is to really hold with your glutes when you're going down and push when you're going up. And really the truth is, when you are holding when you're going down in the eccentric phase, that is when the signals are going to the muscles that they need to grow. So keep that in mind in all the exercises you are doing, that you should have as much focus on the way down or up if you're doing, for example, back exercises, than you have when you're pushing up or down. So in the whole phase, the same attention in the muscles. The same thing here in stiff deadlifts. Your knees should always be in line with your toes. That is key in every standing leg exercise. Now we're going to talk a little bit about hip thrusts. For many years I never did hip thrusts. I have been weightlifting for 15 years now, so it's a very long time. And I think I've been doing hip thrusts for the past 5 or 4 years or something like that. And I can tell you that my way of doing hip thrusts has been changing a lot through the years. And I get the most feeling in my glutes when I am focusing on moving my butt area the most. I don't know if that makes sense, but some people say that you should move your upper body along with your hip movements, and some say that you should more focus the tension on the hip movements. And for me, I feel that I get less tension on my lower back and more activation in my glute when I'm really focusing the movements around the hip area, as you see me doing here. I am just moving my upper body a little bit to, yeah, I think it's impossible to do it without moving the upper body anything. But as you see, I am putting most of the tension around my hip area and really squeezing the glutes. And the same thing here. Don't just push up the weight and let it go down without holding against with the muscles. You should really focusing the muscles as much in the way down, on the way down, is the correct way to say it, than you're doing on the way up. I see so many girls just pushing it up and letting it down, pushing it up and letting it down, without having any tension in the glutes on the way down. And hey, you're missing more than half of the workout then. You're putting your time in the gym, you better get the most you can out of it. So focusing on the way down and on the way up. So lastly, we are talking about squats. And I have been doing squats for so many years, and squats was something that I started to do when I first started to weightlift. And I think that the normal squats has been so neglected lately, because everyone is talking about sumo squats to cooperate your glutes, and it's different for everyone. But honestly, I think if you're doing normal stand squat, as you see me here, I have my feet shoulder width apart, and keeping your knees in line with your toes once again, really focusing on having your upper body straight and your core cooperated. And if you're lowering down and really thinking about your glutes here and pushing up with your glutes, you can get so good tension in your glute without having the sumo stand. And when you're having sumo stand, you're also cooperate a lot of your inner thighs, which is good, but it can also take away some tension from the glutes. That is how I'm feeling. So I really like to do both of them, because they are really targeting different type of muscles in your leg area. But don't neglect normal stand squats. I think that they are super good and you can really get good glute activation. And if you are frightened to do normal squats, you can do them with a bench behind you, so you can sit down. And I actually feel sometimes that I can get even more tension in my glutes when I'm doing seated squats instead of standard squats. I mean, when I'm sitting down instead of not doing it, because sometimes I can do much heavier weight in this way. that will mean I will get more tension on my glutes and my whole legs, and I will get more growth in the long terms. So I alternate them. Sometimes I do them seated, sometimes I do them without any bench, and I think that it's a very good way to alternate like the same movement, but you will feel it different in your body. If you haven't tried it, try it and you will see what I mean. And once again here, it's important to focus. You see me do it through all the exercises here. I take a moment before I start and really focusing on where I want to feel it and how I'm going to go through the exercise. So this will be the last compound movement of today's video. So I hope that you guys like this video and that you got some inspiration from it. And if you have any other videos you want me to do the same thing with, please let me know in the comment sections, and I hope I see you guys in my next video. Bye!